Over the years, I realized that everyone is making the same mistake. These mistakes are losing you easy points. If you are good at math, then probably you might not be learning something new in this video. But I suggest you stick with the video in case you might be a victim of any of these mistakes. Now, the first silly mistake that you might be doing in your math test or exam is this. If you think this is this, then honestly, I must disclose to you, you have been doing something different. This is absolutely wrong. This is a square of an expression within a bracket. And whenever this occur or take place, it means the expression you are having within a bracket is multiplying itself 2 times. So the best way to simplify this is to assume it is multiplying itself 2 times. Then you will now to expand x plus 5. Then the next thing is just to expand. And to expand this, what you need to do is just to distribute each term within the bracket respectively. Meaning that you multiply this with this and you repeat it one more time, multiply with the next one. Then repeat it for this, multiply it with this, and one more time, multiply with this. And whatever you have is your absolute correct answer. So this is simply x squared plus 5x plus 5x plus 25. Then this and these are like terms. You can combine them and have x squared plus 10x then plus 25. And this is the correct answer. Round 2. Never think the square root of x squared plus y squared is equals to x plus y. This is absolutely wrong. But do you know that the square root of x squared times y squared is indeed equals to yx? That's absolutely right. But whenever there is positive or negative sign between those two squares, then and they are being enclosed within a radical, then you can't assume the radical will cancel the squares. That is absolutely wrong. Please make sure you are fully aware of that. Okay, that's one another mistakes that students usually use to encounter in basic mathematics. Now the next one is the absolute value. The absolute value of 5 is indeed equals to 5, and the absolute value of negative 7 is also indeed equals to 7. But do you know that this can only be applied to numbers? You must not apply this concept to variables. What am I saying? If you have anything like absolute value of x, never think it is equals to x only. This is wrong. The absolute value of x might be either two things. It can either be negative x or positive x. So absolute value of x is plus or minus x. That is something you have to be fully aware of. You can only use the positive for negative for values alone, but whenever it is variable, never think it is positive alone. Meaning that if you have something like absolute value of x minus 7, then your result is not equals to x plus 7. This is not the only answer, and it might also be wrong. The absolute value of x minus 7 has to be indeed be plus or minus then the bracket of x minus 7, and that is your correct answer. So whenever a variable is included in an absolute value, then you need to attach or associate plus or minus sign with it. Hopefully you grab that. The next one is algebraic fraction, which is mostly often repeated over time. Students will think that these can cancel out. When you have something like 3x plus 4 divided by x plus 4, then what they are going to do next is to cancel this x plus 4 and divide it by x plus 4 and have it to be 3. Honestly, you are doing rubbish. This is correctly wrong. This can cancel out. So whenever you are dealing with algebraic fraction and such that it includes plus or minus sign, then you need to do something called scan method. All right. Now you want to scan where the positive and negative sign is located. If they are enclosed within a parenthesis, then probably you can cancel some expression out. But if they have not enclosed within a parenthesis, you can never cancel anything. So what am I saying excess? Let's consider this. Let's assume we have 2x, then to be multiplied by y plus 3. Then this is dividing x multiplied by y plus 7, then plus 1. The question is, can this x cancels each other? If you think it can cancel each other, then you are thinking the wrong way. This can never cancel. Why? I will do a scan. Positive is within a parenthesis. That's absolutely right. Now, positive over here is also within a parenthesis. Absolutely correct. But there is a positive outside the parenthesis, which has already altered the condition for you cancelling some expressions out when dealing with algebraic fraction. So this positive one will not make it possible for us to get rid of the x. Hopefully you grab that. Now what about this? Is it possible to get rid of the x? What if you have it this way? 2x multiplied by y plus 3, then all divided by x multiplied by y plus 7. It turns out that the x can cancel at this point, and you can be left over with 2y plus 3, then all divided by y plus 7. And this will be your answer. The reason is all because the two positive or negative sign we are having in that expression is being enclosed within a parenthesis. That's one thing that you need to be very aware of as well. Now it turns out that assuming what we are having here is not 7 but 3, then definitely you can also cancel this and this as well. They can be get rid of. Okay, but when they are not the same thing, never ever cancel them. Some will cancel this y, that y can cancel y. This is absolutely wrong. Please make sure you are fully aware of anything like that. Now it is time for a pop-up quiz. Kindly check if at all you can cancel out any expression in this problem. So you checked out x in the bracket of 3 plus y, then all divided by 2x in the bracket of y plus 1, then minus 4. I give you just 2 seconds. Or let me make it 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your answer is absolutely right. This cannot cancel out because I'm adding negative 4, which is a negative sign, outside the parentheses. So with this, it won't be easy for me to cancel out this 2x. So this cannot cancel anything. Perfect. Now the next one is when you are having a complex fraction and not algebraic fraction. So what am I saying? Many students usually used to find this confusing. So what if you have something like a whole number 2 dividing a fraction 4 over 5? How can you simplify this? Now the best thing you can always do is to turn this long division into a regular division. We have two types of division. We have the long division, which is often used when dealing with fraction, and we have the regular division, which is often used in normal basic operation. So I would like to turn this to this. Perfect. So therefore, I'm going to have 2 divided by 4 by 5. Then the next thing I would like to do is to use a concept. Perhaps you might have been familiar with it. The concept is known as keep, change, and flip. You keep the first fraction, assuming 2 in a fraction form, that's simply 2 over 1. So I'm going to consider it stable. Then I'm going to change this division into a product, meaning that I'm going to turn it to multiplication. The next thing you have to do is to flip the second fraction. You turn the numerator to denominator and vice versa. So I'm going to have 5 by 4. And then you can simplify. This become 10 divided by 4. Or if I should reduce this, that should be 5 by 2. And this is the final answer. Now, it's time for pop-up quiz. What if you're having a fraction to be divided in fraction? You're still going to consider the same scenario and the same method. So kindly figure that out. So what if you have 2 by 3 all divided by 4 by 7? You have just 5 seconds to handle this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Your answer is absolutely right. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change this long division into a regular division. And I'm going to have 2 divided by 3, then divided by 4 over 7. Then the next thing is to use keep, change, and flip. I'm going to keep the first fraction, which is 2 by 3. And I'm going to change the sign into a product. And I'm going to flip the second one. Turn this to this, turn this to this. I'm going to have 7 by 4. Turns out that 2 can cancel out. And I'm going to be left over with 7 by 6. By the time I multiply 3 by the 2 that I'm left over with this. That is the final answer. Next is when you are having something like this, typically a quadratic expression, and which is often, yes, it's often being repeated over time. I've seen many students that usually used to confuse this together, like mix it up. Once you have x squared to be equals to x, many students will divide both sides by x and have x to be equals to 1. It turns out that you have already lose half a point of this full point of the solution. Why? Because one is not only the answer. The best thing to do when you're having something like this is to just bring this to the side, because you are having a quadratic expression, meaning that you have to have two different roots. It depends. You might have two similar roots, you might have two complex roots. But for this, you will be having two different roots. So you just bring this and have x squared minus x to be equals to 0. Then you can just factorize. Then taking x out, I have x plus 1 or x minus 1 left over, and everything to be equal to 0, and x will either be equal to 0 and x will be equal to 1. And these are the two possible values. And with this, you can always have your full marks. That's one thing you need to keep track of. What if you have x squared minus 5x equals 6? What would you do in this case? The best thing is to bring the 6 to this side and turn it to a quadratic expression and solve it quadratically. And that is it for this video, guys. Hopefully you find something very important and something very useful. If you haven't subscribed, please do wait to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to give this video a like and a thumbs up. By the way, I just remember that there's one more thing I almost forgot, and what exactly it is, and here it is. What if you have something like x plus 3, then you have 2 outside it? What would this become? Please kindly keep in mind that whenever you are having something like this, it is the same thing as having that 2 to come first, then followed by the expression within the bracket. The 2 can always be used to expand the bracket. But unfortunately, this is not the same as this. X plus 3, then minus 2 or plus 2. In this case, this 2 is standing alone, and you need not to use it to expand the bracket. So this will correspond to x plus 3 minus 2, which is indeed x plus 1. So that's another thing that you need to be very, very careful with. When it is just a single value or single variable being attached to that parenthesis, at the right hand side, you can still always use it to expand the bracket. But when that variable or that value is attached or is having a coefficient such that that coefficient is positive or negative, then you need not to use it to expand the bracket. Hopefully you find that helpful as well. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.